Good morning, first grade friends, and welcome to week 2, day 3, or lesson 3. If you look behind me, you see we have added a couple new letters. Today we're going to add the vowel E and the consonant R. We now have all of our first row letters for our Fundations. So that row is complete. Let's go ahead and start by doing our sound warm-up. Have to make sure I have baby echo ready. Okay, our skyline letter B for Benny Bear. B, bear, B. B, bear, B. B, bear, B. B, bear, B. Remember, we're learning about our B and our D. Remember when you're making a B, here is Benny's body. He's standing straight, tall, and then his belly is sticking way out from that big breakfast. His belly sticks out in front of him. Okay, our next alpha friend, Fifi Fish, another skyline letter. F, fish, F, fish, F, fish, F, fish. Tiggy tiger, another skyline letter. T, tiger, T, T, tiger, T, T, tiger, T. T, tiger, T. Mimi Mouse, who is a plain line letter. Remember, we don't want our plain line letters to go above the dotted line or they'll float away like a balloon. M, mouse, M, mouse, M, mouse, M, mouse, Another plain line letter, our letter N for Nile Noodle. N, noodle, N, noodle, N, noodle, N, noodle, Our first vowel that we learned, remember our vowels are in red, is Iggy Iguana, and I is a plain line letter with his little dot or his little hat right above the plain line. I, iguana, I, iguana, I, iguana, I, iguana, Our next vowel is umbrella. Remember, a plain line letter, and it curves down, or think of baby echo. It swoops down to get a mouse, back up, and kickstand. U, umbrella, U, umbrella, U, umbrella, U, umbrella, Okay, here's one of our rounded plain line letters, the letter C. Remember, we start just a little bit below the plain line, curve around to the grass line, and up. This is Cali cat. C, cat, k. C, cat, k. C, cat, k. C, cat, k. Another rounded plain line letter, our vowel O. Remember, it's kind of like a circle. We just go down to the grass line and close it back in. Ozzy octopus. O, octopus, ah. O, octopus, ah. O, octopus, ah. O, octopus, ah. Another curved plain line letter is our A. Remember, it looks very similar to the O, but we put a kickstand to hold them up. Andy apple. A, apple, ah. A, apple, ah. A, apple, ah. A, apple, ah. Okay, our letter G, this is our only worm line letter we've learned so far. And our letter G, again, it looks very similar to an A. Okay, and then we have our hook to go down and get the worm for Gertie Goose. G, goose, g. G, goose, g. G, goose, g. G, goose, g. Our letter D is a skyline letter, and it's the opposite of Benny Bear. Remember, Dudley Duck's body is standing nice and tall, and he's wiggling his tail feathers right behind him. So remember, skyline down to the grass line, and then he's wiggling those tail feathers behind him. D, duck, d. D, duck, d. D, duck, d. D, duck, d. Okay, another rounded plain line letter, our letter S for Sammy Seal. Remember, we start a little bit below the plain line, curve up and around, down and around. looks like a slithering snake. S, seal, S, S, seal, S, S, seal, S, S, seal, S. Our new vowel and last vowel today is the letter E for Edna, elephant. Another plain line letter. So we start a little bit below the plain line. We go out, curve up to the plain line, down and around. So it looks like a letter C, but it has that line that cuts through the middle. Another rounded letter. E, elephant, eh. E, elephant, eh. E, elephant, eh. E, elephant, eh. And a new consonant for today. Another plain line letter, the letter R for Reggie Rooster. So we bring our stick straight down to the grass line, trace up, and hook over. Kind of reminds me of the hook that we have for our F. R, rooster, R, rooster, R, rooster, R, rooster, All right, and now we have all of our vowels, so I want to do our vowel extension. Remember, all of our vowel sounds are open mouth sounds, so our mouth is open when we're making the sound. So, A, apple, ah. Okay, you try it now. A, apple, ah. I, itch, I. You try it this time. I, itch, I. Okay, letter O. O, octopus, ah. You try it. O, octopus, ah. U, umbrella, ah. You try it. U, umbrella, ah. And finally we have E. E, ed, eh. You try it. E, ed, eh. Okay, and when I think of my vowels, remember I have little clues that help me remember. For A, I think of going to the doctor, ah, and checking out my throat. For I, remember when something is smelly, that helps me remember the short I sound. O, an opera singer, ah, and my mouth makes the shape of an O. U, like I'm putting up my umbrella. I had to do that this morning. It was raining outside. And then finally E, I think of an evil witch laughing. And that's how I remember the short E sound. Today I'd like you to practice your letters. I'm going to get out, if I can find it, here we go. Our letters, this is kind of my little helper to tell me about my letters, our skyline letters, our plain line letters, and those plain line letters that are rounded or curved, okay? And then eventually we'll get to plain line letters that we slide. So I'm going to keep this here, but we're just going to do the letters we've done so far. So for my skyline letters, we have done now. I'm going to use my letters behind me to help me. We have done B, that's a skyline letter. We have done D. Now remember the B, here's Benny Bear's body. Come back up, here's that big old belly sticking out front. The letter D, remember, is a little bit different, right? Because we have Dudley Duck's body, but remember, he's waving those tail feathers behind him as he goes. So think of Dudley Duck as walking away, and here's his tail feathers wiggling behind him. Okay, we have our letter F. That is a skyline letter. And we have our letter T. And so on one row of your paper, you can practice those skyline letters. The plain line letters we have learned so far. We have I, and these are plain line letters that they do not call rounded letters. M, N, or adding our R. And our R is just a straight stick down, come up, and just a little hook at the top. Okay? And then we have U. Okay? And I like to think of U, baby echo. He's swooping down to get a mouse, comes back up, and lands on his feet. Okay, I'm going to move this down a little. Now for our rounded letters, we have our vowel A. So I circle around, give him his kickstand. We have C, where we start a little below the plane line and we come around and just hook up. Okay, we have, now I noticed that they have on here the letter D as a round. They don't have B there, but we're not going to worry about doing him down here because we did him for a skyline letter. Okay, next they have the letter O, which is just circle around. And our letter G, remember our letter G is our worm line letter, so I'm going to start here like I'm making a C, come around, up like it's an A, and then instead of stopping on the grass line, I'm going to hook down and get that worm. Okay, our S. S is a tricky one because you're going to hook up like you're making a C, but then when you get to the middle, you're going to curve back around and then come back up. That's a tricky one. That's one you're going to want to practice. And now we have our E. So I make my line, curve up and around, and swing down. So I believe those are all of our letters that we have. And we will do much more practice with our writing when we are in person. That'll be a lot easier for me to see how you're doing and what you need help with. So I'm going to show you those again, so you can practice those. Also, on our virtual classroom, if you click on the vowel poster, I added a short vowel game so you can decide what vowel belongs to the word or the picture that they give you. I hope you have a great day, and I will see you back here tomorrow.